as digital transactions surge and financial fraud becomes more sophisticated, AI-driven risk detection is now mission critical. Mumbai-based Data Sutram has just raised $9 million in a Series A funding round, backed by global investors B Capital and Lightspeed. The company helps banks, fintechs, and insurers detect fraud, ensure compliance, and reduce risk using its proprietary Trust Core technology. With over 110 million identities screened, Data Sutram is now eyeing global expansion. Joining me now to discuss this further is Rajit Bhattacharya, the founder and CEO of Data Sutram. Rajit, thank you so much for taking time out and being here with us on Startup Street. You know, as I just mentioned, your proprietary Trust Core analyzes millions of digital footprints to flag risk. If you could sort of break that down for us and tell us how it works and what makes it different from traditional fraud detection systems. So sort of tell us what you have on offer.
No, absolutely. I think firstly, thank you so much for having me here. It's a pleasure to come here and share our experience in terms of what we are doing. So in fact, we all know about credit score, right? Now, what is a credit score? A credit score is fundamentally something that's built on borrowing history or borrowing records. And that's something that today a lot of banks and lenders are relying on in terms of taking decisions. Right. What we realized today is that when we started off today, all us as individuals, we have so much presence on digital history. We constantly use our phone, we shop online, we play games online, we are constantly transacting and creating our digital identity. Now, in the last few years, why fraud has increased and why there's been, we've been hearing about scams, phishing, mule accounts, and so on, is the reason is because with the increase of digital infrastructure, with the increase of lending, obviously there has been loopholes in terms of what fraudsters have identified and have very rightly come in. To quote a banker, right? I think the chore had reached the cloud and the police was still on the ground, right? And that gave us the opportunity. What we did is we, as a proprietary company, we created technology, a product that for the basic foundation assumed that we don't know what fraud is. And we built machine learning and AI-based models that looked at a footprint of an individual over their digital and social behavior and was able to understand algorithms and hence come up with our own score that proprietarily captures what is fraud. And this was a huge move for us because especially in a segment like financial services, for large banks and large lenders to come in and trust indigenous made in India proprietary tech and to trust it for its core decision making and to solve for fraud was a big win for us.
Absolutely. And you've raised this $9 million in a Series A funding round from B Capital and Lightspeed. If you could quickly tell us, how do you plan to deploy this capital across product development, hiring, and international expansion?
Absolutely. So, in fact, firstly, the funding from two of the largest global funds in the world also, is a huge boost for the economy and also a huge boost especially in the fintech segment because market size has always been a concern in this area. So it also shows that this is a big space. We are planning to expand our team aggressively, build a great talent. We are looking to get people from the go-to-market and product perspective. I think from an expansion perspective, we're looking at both breadth and depth. From the depth perspective, of course, we're solving for fraud at an onboarding level, but we eventually want to go into transaction. We want to go into, looking at payments and multiple aspects. From a breadth perspective, obviously today, lastly, our work is restricted to banks and NBFCs, which is liability and lending. But eventually we want to go into insurance, we want to look into crypto, we want to look into gaming. So wherever there is a money trail involved digitally, there can be potential risks of fraud. And that's where we plan to expand our product portfolio and to ensure that we live in a secure environment. I think the idea is tomorrow, every time there's a transaction, there should be a score generated to check whether that transaction is a fraud or not.
Sure. And if you could sort of, give us a sense of your current revenue model and what you're currently clocking, what's the kind of growth that you've seen so far and how do you plan to scale monetization?
Absolutely. So our billing today is on a per inquiry basis. So we charge a customer every time there's an inquiry, that the enterprise makes on the end customer, right? For us today, last year we clocked around, we've seen 4x growth. We've hit $3 million of run rate. And today, I think we're going forward to this year to hit grow 4x forward and reach $10 to $12 million in the next 12 to 15 months.
And you're already, as we mentioned, working with leading banks, NBFCs, and fintechs. Can you share how your client base has grown over the past year and what kind of demand you're seeing from new sectors? Like you said, you're looking at insurance, crypto, and e-commerce. Are you seeing any leads there? Are you seeing any kind of growth there? And what are the kind of threats that your clients are most worried about?
I think what has happened over time, is that in the initial days, right? I think when you looked at fraud, if I go back to, previously people used to have secure physical spaces. Then as it moved into digital, right? I think the volume of fraud online increased because right now anyone with a SIM card can really, clock a system and game it and do a potential fraud. I think the risk has become that if you see most of the fraud that's happening in the country, the age profile is between 25 to 28 or 24 to 28, right? It's a young population that's going out and using the internet to find loopholes. So when we speak to risk professionals, when we speak to anti-fraud solution professionals, previously this used to be a profession where it's always very collaborative, where people come together, share, this is what we are seeing, are you seeing it there, right? And we are seeing the same trend here. I think what we are seeing is a community-based approach, a knowledge-sharing-based approach, where everyone's coming together, whether I'm a bank, I'm an NBFC, I'm a crypto, I'm an insurance. I think the risk everyone has today is that when there is a money trail involved, because see, what's the fraud that's happening? It's identity theft, it's stolen identity, it's synthetic identity. Because at the core, what has happened is today, if I have 2, 3 phone numbers and 4, 5 email IDs, I can become 12 individuals on the internet, and hence it's very difficult for a enterprise on the other side to understand who am I really and when am I looking at. So contact risk is a major problem. And today, this problem of identity theft, synthetic identity has really taken over. And that has led to major challenges. So what we are seeing today, when we started off last 1 year, right, I think mule account was a huge trend. I think the regulator was looking at it very aggressively, and hence very large banks,
Sure.
as banks came in. And now we are
Yeah.
seeing it in other segments.
Absolutely. So you've outlined there what it is that clients are most afraid of and what you do to help them out. All right, Rajit, we're completely out of time, but thank you so much for taking time out and being here with us on Startup Street.
Thank you so much. Pleasure.
Well, on that note, we have to take a break, but don't go anywhere.